This is Low Moon Outsiders, and the story continues.
Those acts after the fight.
Oh, yeah. Right at the end. Xavier wasn't in that, though. He didn't get TPK'd.
No.
He got held or paralyzed outside.
Yeah.
Because the goblins loaded him onto the pack animal.
I think Guillermo also might have died in that fight. Maybe not. Maybe it was just around that time. Guillermo dies a lot. Guillermo is Guillermo's definitely the most killed member of that party.
He's running like Victor ran in the early days. Yeah. Many deaths.
He's died probably 5 or 6 times already.
Okay, so this is our devotional.
Is it all in the same adventure?
No.
He has. What was your maximum number in one adventure?
Let's see.
5 or 6, maybe.
Though, hey, we're getting to the point where that will become possible because after this week of training, Theon can memorize feign death every day.
It was at least 4. Because it was the Medusa turned to stone.
The death
failed
knight.
to come back. Or failed the system shock.
Yep.
Then was raised, running around weak, being chased by a death knight.
Yep.
Killed.
Yep.
And then twice at the end, where the party was turning in all the treasure to trying to get me raised, and I know I failed that at least twice.
Yeah,
or at least
I
once.
think he died in the hallway fighting the Death Knight before did the 20 dice fireball. I think he died then. I think he was weak when he encountered the Medusa.
No, because I
wasn't he already dead before he encountered the Medusa though?
I don't think
Once.
so. I think the Medusa is what killed him. And I don't think I got the 20 dice fireball because I just remember I ran in one door, was waiting for him to chase me.
That was later though. This was in the hallway, the main hallway out front. They fought him. You might not have been in it, but because there was Haynard, basically front line.
Yeah.
And then they wound up after the fireball went off, the rest of everybody ran. And that's when Aubrey got separated and did the whole kitchen sink thing, laid out all the arrows. That was done. I thought there was somebody died then.
Yeah, I know. I know at least 2 more, but I know the one I remember with the Death Knight was the word kill.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So here's our devotional. It's based on Judges 5:3, not super long. It says, "Hear, O kings, give ear, O rulers. To the Lord I will sing. I will sing praise to the Lord, the God of Israel." Judges 5:3. When we studied this verse as a church, we talked about the fact that the song was a little different than odes of its day, chiefly because it gave much glory to God, where most of the other odes were about the heroes that had done something incredible. God is doing something incredible every day. In this case, he brought out people to fight for his cause, and then he brought to bear powerful, even miraculous things to bring about the victory. I guess we could say that we will sing God's glory all the time, and we ought to realize that God is bringing about incredible events and chiming in with miraculous support on a regular basis. Let us say, "I will sing praise unto the Lord." Let us ask of those who glorify themselves and have many others who will glorify them, that they instead listen to our song of glory unto the Lord and perhaps realize that he deserves it. Okay, whence last we broke, this is Low Moon Outsiders, the first, and we may or may not get a second at the rate we're going, time in December. The party had removed themselves from immediate threat. And I think actually at the end of last session we did experience, if I'm not mistaken. Does that sound right?
Sounds right.
You had saved a number of escapees from the village and safeguarded them up in the mountains in a sort of a ancient, not sure if it was an ancient temple or if it was kind of a fortress, basically high columned. And it had a big rectangular room in the front, and that's where the party was kind of staying. Lacion, the dragon monk, was with you. He has, at this point, tentatively sworn allegiance to Clume. But you really had, at the end of that time, you had not had a lot of chance to really talk with him and see exactly what that entails. Or even really a lot of time to think about it yourself as to what you're training, because you probably had some training back in the day. Somebody talked to you about it back in the day, what that would be like, and you remember there were dragon monks in the lair, not to yourself or to any immediate, connection that you knew who it was for sure. So anyway, you were resting there and found that it would be feasible to take the refugees out the back way and down out of the mountains up into more civilized territory. So that quote-unquote more civilized territory is what lies between here and the Thrice Moon Protectorate. In there, as in kind of like tamping down some of the violence and marauding and that kind of thing, is Estrelli. So the keep is there. So as long as the keep stands, the area within probably 20 miles or so of the keep is pretty tamped down, patrolled, kept under control. But you don't really know what the state of the keep is. You did run into some knights previously, a couple of knights, and they're kind of like retainers or followers or whatever they were, they were involved at the caravan when you guys used the stopwatch and redid it, and then they were not involved the second time when you redid it. So, but then somebody, and you'd have to remember yourself who it was, but somebody saw, I think it might have been Lucas, but anyway, it saw that they had come to the scene of the caravan battle and not
went back the way they went.
And went back the way they went, that they had not participated. And so that raised some questions, but no answers were forthcoming at that time. But the party was successful then in saving the caravan, and then went to go save, and then went to the giant slayer, and then destroyed the wounding sword, and went deep in the volcano, and all that kind of came out of that. Anyways, the point is, they went back and probably headed toward the keep, and into this kind of general region where you're at, but south of where you are. Okay. So if you can get the refugees to Estrelli, they would be safe, theoretically, as long as Estrelli is safe. And there is a road down out of the mountains. But there are two issues with that. So one, there is no safe way to get around to the road. You've found the road, you know that it's there, but there's no, like, some of the refugees are injured, some are children, some are old women, there's a pregnant woman, and so these are not rock climbers. None of them are rock climbers. And so you don't really have an easy way to get them around to the road. And then right at the end of last session, you talked about the possibility of going through the mountain. And there are doors off the back of that large chamber that you were staying in. And basically you had decided, we're leaning towards going through one of those doors, checking it, seeing if there was a way to go. I mean, you expect that there would be, because what you're thinking is this is the back door, because there's no way other than to the north where you came and across the chasm bridge. There's no easy way, and the chasm bridge would not have been suitable even when it was fully repaired. It would not have been suitable like for wagons or debatably cavalry, debatably troops. And there's no stables on this side, nothing like that. And so you kind of think
we had to leave our horses, right?
Yeah, because the chasm bridge was destroyed, so there was no way to get the horses across to the side. So as of right now, you could go back. You'd have to have a way across, but you had to go back across to the other side. And I think actually the idea was that you had tethered the horses, but not in such a way that they couldn't free themselves. Like if predators came, like you didn't hobble them, you tied them. They won't leave, but if something scares them or if they need to, they can leave. And so the idea was, and you had unsaddled them and all that kind of stuff, was you left them possibly free, not preferably, but possibly. Anyway, so you had talked about going deeper into the complex, if you will, and because we're transitioning, okay? So I'm going to actually fast forward a little bit and pick up at a different point, okay? So as this session opens, we see the 5 of you, and also Lacion, and also a young woman who is probably in her early 20s, who wears light leather armor, and she has long blonde hair that goes from the middle of her back, and it's pulled back, so her bangs are back, and it's tight in a ponytail behind her, and she has a short sword on her hip, a backpack, and a quiver of arrows, and a short bow. And she is with the party as well. Now, obviously, you don't know who she is yet because we haven't actually role-played that, but she is with you as well. And we see the party just coming out of a large cave. You're clearly underground. And before you is a dark blue, kind of shiny, smooth underground lake. So you're obviously, anyone watching knows, you're into the mountain. You went into the mountain, and you're exploring as whether or not there is a way across to the road, right? In the intervening, just kind of give you some information. In the intervening, you met this young lady. Her name is Zah, Z-A-H. She is the daughter of a knight, and was raised to be her mother's successor in their seamstress business, basically, which was in that town that was just destroyed. And her mother was killed in the recent carnage. Her father was called up by a lord to whom he owes allegiance, who is also attached to Australia. And so he left the village several weeks ago, which is 22 days ago. And he has not been back, and so she doesn't know his fate. While she grew up to be a seamstress, and her hands, and she's probably mended some things in camp like that, show that she's a very capable person in that way. She's also physically fit, adroit. Like she has demonstrated already that she's reasonably high dexterity, and she was the token to accompany you, figuring that if something happens, she will take the message back that that's not going to be a possibility. Like if you guys get in a fight or whatever and it doesn't go well, she's basically here to carry the message back to the leaders who are back in the big rectangular hall, basically to say, okay, it's not going to work. If you guys are pressed, cut off, something happens. So she's basically a scout, if you will. Okay, Lacian is also here in the intervening time. So this is the next day. So you've had a period of rest. Okay, which means everyone would have healed. What's our best healer in the group?
Healing 5.
5. So everyone would have healed 5 hit points for 6 hours plus of sleep, if you needed it. Okay. Also, your paladin's healing, or your healing has been restored, so you could use it again if you need to, if anybody's particularly bad off.
My breath weapon resets.
Yep. So you're feeling reasonably capable. You've not had any fighting from the moment that you left that hall to here, although you have walked probably close to half a mile through a winding path, gone through a couple of extra doors. Not a path that will be difficult to follow back. Easy, like not complicated. Okay. So what's interesting about the scene, I apologize. So finishing up with Lacian. So you did have a conversation overnight with Lacian, basically sitting at the fire like that. And some of it's reminder, but I'm just going to go over it anyway. Basically, a dragon monk has a sworn allegiance to whatever dragon. So he would be a servant, essentially. In exchange for that, he gets abilities similar to yours. So he would, like, for example, as you go up levels, as you increase and hit dice like that, you will pick up abilities. Also, of course, you have lightning breath weapon, for example. So he will get similar, like maybe with his strike or something, he'll get electricity. Or you haven't discovered a lot of your abilities. You have some, like the destroy water, the change cantrip, things like that. So you have some spell abilities and things like that. Those are inherent abilities. You don't memorize for them or anything like that. There's things that you can do because of what you are. Dragons have a mystical attachment to the arcane, and most dragons, unless they're particularly elder and learned, don't understand it. So, but there was a day probably when they did, back in the year of the dragon, but a lot of that was lost because of conflicts, and that's all before your time, obviously. Okay, anyway, so the point is, so he would gain certain abilities because of that. He's going to lose his abilities up to the dragon that he was previously attached to because he was killed. And he does say that the dragon he was previously attached to was evil. And he doesn't really have a problem with that. He doesn't seem to be either, from after talking to him, you're pretty sure he's not evil, but also not good. So it would be a cold allegiance in that regard. So, for example, he's the kind of person that would be, torture is okay for the right reason. Killing an unarmed captive might be suitable if their deeds call for it. That kind of thing. Capital punishment definitely makes sense. That kind of law. And monks are all lawful, generally speaking. So anyway, after talking with him, you realize he's also in a position where, because his old master died, if he does not attach himself to someone in a certain period of time, which he's got like 4 days left, 3 now because he slept overnight, then he would lose all of his previous abilities, and eventually he would essentially lose his status as a dragon monk, which means he would lose all of his monk abilities, and so he doesn't want to do that.
Didn't he also say he would eventually die?
He might die, yeah. Well, he would become... So the problem is he's exceeded his life expectancy to be the way he is. So like when you look at him, you look like he's like in his late teens. But he would say he's probably 60. So the change from having the health of a late teens to having somebody who's in their 60s could kill him. And if it didn't, he would still be unable to function.
Yeah.
So, he might be able to train back. He could become another kind of monk and that kind of thing, but he'd be 60. So, or 62 or 4 by the time he caught up, if he even could survive it. There's a question as to whether that's true. He does tell you that, in full disclosure, he has enemies. He has an enemy in particular, another dragon monk who had allegiance to that evil dragon, and would be in the same boat that he's in, needing to find a new master. And they fought. After their master was destroyed, the other dragon monk was basically going to hunt down and kill the people that destroyed his master, slit their throats in their sleep, that kind of kill, poison them, whatever, something, not a fair fight, basically, but just kill them, murder them. And so there are 2 codes of the dragon monk, essentially, and the more arduous one is that the enemy of my former master is no longer my enemy. That's the tighter path, basically. And so Lacion chooses that path. The other path is vengeance, so that like that period of time that you have, that you keep your powers, is only so that you can use those powers that you got from your former master to destroy the person that hurt your master, basically. And they believe in self-sacrifice to the point like if they have 30 days, then they will spend the 30 days doing everything they can to destroy that master's enemies. And failing that, they'll just die. They won't continue. But succeeding in that, they would then possibly go on to take another master. But that's a different road. But the more stringent path in his mind, is to no longer hold vengeance against or perceived justice against your previous master's enemies. In taking that path, he spoke with a monk that was with the group. He doesn't name the person. He spoke with a monk that was with the group that killed his master, and they were powerful. And in his mind, he calls them noble and good, which he didn't call himself that, but he called them that. And so he said he felt like if he was going to truly walk the road of forgiving those who destroyed his master, that he needed to make some kind of a connection that would be possible. And so he went to the monk. He asked him and said, "Do you know of a dragon that I could attach myself to that would not, adhere to the road of vengeance and like that?" And that monk recommended you. So he has not given you the name, and if you pressed it, you probably could get him to do so, especially after. In fact, I would say he would not give you the name unless there was allegiance. Like if the two of you agreed, then that would be fine. But if you didn't agree to take him on, then he wouldn't give you the name, because then that could affect that person that gave him your name. Okay. So basically that's what you know. He is a capable dragon monk. As long as he doesn't lose his monk abilities, he's probably as tough or tougher on that scale, like as a monk, right? So like Lucas is way more powerful than the average cavalier. Chiron is way more powerful than the average paladin of his level. But on this scale, whether he can compare or not is debatable, but by level, he is more powerful. So 10th level, something like that. Okay. But he's not a paladin or a cavalier.
Right.
Face-to-face fight, it might be a problem. Okay, so anyway, so you gained that information. He has not asked you yet to fully commit to having him, but he's basically saying he's got 3 days. So before everything. And his abilities have been bleeding off, so he's not capable of doing certain things that he could do before already. So he'll get weaker and weaker until he becomes attached to another dragon. Okay. And he is there with you now. All right. Okay. So now we're actually picking up. You step out of this giant hallway. The ceiling is about 20 feet high, but the ceiling of this room disappears into kind of a hazy darkness at probably about 100 feet. So it's 100, 120 feet up into the air. There is next to no ambient light in the room. But the party has been using lanterns or torches to see by. Some of you don't need it, but there is a human component. So,
Interested in giving financially to Low Moon and support the campaign? Text LMGIVE, that's LMGIVE, to 419-419-0095.
it's kind of rude for the elves to just walk around being able to see, and then the humans just can't see. So, all right. So as you kind of fan out in the room, there's 50 foot of beach, and then there's the water, and you can see the edge of the water in your light. The beach goes to the right or to the left. Your lantern light shines out onto the water, reflects off the water, and because of the way light works, you can't see clearly like if there was somebody there or not, but it probably reaches 150 feet. So you can see out onto the water 70, 80 feet at least. And from this kind of weird echoey sounds and stuff like that, you would guess that this is a very large chamber. All right. And with that, what do you do?
Our goal is to continue forward and clear the stage, right?
Goal is to find a way through the mountain. That was the goal. A way that pregnant women, old ladies, and children can go.
Okay.
Preferably. And so far, what you have so far is that. Now, you know, like, by a Sturd's math, right, that you need probably about, if it's a straight line, you'd need probably about 1.5 miles to get through. So you've gone guesstimating at 0.5 mile, so you might have gone as much as 1/3 of the way. So it's either around the lake or over the lake somehow. I mean, there hasn't been like a place where you could turn off at this point to take a different route. So you know this is not process of elimination at this point.
But you say there are multiple entrances, like multiple exits out the back of that chamber we were initially?
There were 2 that went toward the main part of the mountain and 1 on each end of it. After kind of just scouting first to look, you saw that the ones on the ends didn't go into the mountain. They were just led to other chambers. And actually some of they moved into the chambers on the south side rather than being in that open. Because basically just laying on a hard ground. But you found old beds, cots, what looked like a barracks, that kind of thing. It was all empty. It wasn't like people were killed and left behind. There were no skeletons laying around or anything. It was just deserted, completely empty. And then the other side was a storage room, again, completely empty. It just looked like a big, kind of almost like a square that was the same depth as the end of the room you were in. And then there were 2 exits on this side. The one, which was the leftward of the 2, kind of had a little bit of 3 rooms, and then it connected to the left. This is the only one that really presented itself as a possibility of going deeper into the mountain. And you didn't know that at first, but now you've gone 0.5 mile, so it's definitely working so far. Still would not be able to, if you have to cross the water, you still wouldn't be able to get a wagon or something to the backside of the mountain. So that's kind of cut off.
Does the water, let's try going around the water, like a natural formation?
Yes. I mean, essentially.
Looks like it's been here forever, basically.
Yeah. It looks like an underground sea.
Okay. So let's do that.
So it appears drinkable.
If you go look at it, you'll be able to tell me.
Is it still water?
Very still. It has some movement, but it's very still. It's very shiny. Tiny ripples only. Okay, so you walk up to the edge of the water and check it?
Yeah.
right. Anyone else doing anything else while he's actually walking forward? Also, who's carrying the light sources? Just to be clear, a Stirred volunteered previously to take one.
Who carries second?
Okay, so Plume has it. I think that's how we did it. So that's still fitting.
And I'm also assuming that we'll have been able to have 4 hours to refresh bells.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, refresh. Yep. You're rotated probably like 7 hours of that.
Yeah.
You'd like to try to cross it, I guess.
Okay. So as you move forward, and so the light is reaching further across the water, probably because of the reflective nature of the water. But it is still a sphere around you. It's like a lantern light shines roughly in a 60-foot radius. So as you move forward, the sphere is nearing the edge of the water, and that means the light is reaching out further to the right and left. And to the left, you can now see that there are 2 longboats that are sitting on the shore, and they just bob ever so slightly because they're partly in the water and partly on dry stone. Okay. Herrick actually reaches the edge of the water, and you're cleanly inside the light. As you reach the edge of the water, you see small fish that are probably like 2 inches or so, and they're sort of oval in nature, as a fish will tend to be, pointing at the front and back, and sort of bulby in the middle, and they faintly glow like a whitish blue light, very faintly, and they zip away from, when you approach the water, they zip away from, so they're sensitive to vibration or whatever. Saw like 3 of them. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, because the light would probably be, well, it was already shining on the water pretty much, so it was definitely getting brighter. Okay. Anyway, so there's a group kind of like skirmish formation, basically. We're not really worried about where we're standing, and you're approaching the water. Okay. So you get down and maybe scoop a little bit with your hand. Roll a d20 for me.
Because I added the druid ability, so.
Right. Yep.
Sorry. 26.
Actually, that's good. It's an ability check. So, yeah. So it appears to be fresh water. So it would be drinkable. The bit that you scooped up did have some tiny particulates in it. Even just that little bit in your hand, you could see little floaty things in the water. So it is not clean per se, but it is fresh water, which means it's rejuvenated somewhere. It's not stagnant. Okay. So standing at the shore, let's see. Lucas happens to be to the left toward the boats. You can see that, and having a little bit of knowledge now, having done a little bit of whole kind of mariner montage there. Yeah, you don't see any knots, but you do feel like you're pretty sure that both of those boats could probably make 3 knots. That's a different kind of knot. But anyway, point is, both of the longboats look serviceable, but you can see like a crusty line at the water line that is above the water, about like 2-3 inches.
Insinuating that the water line rises?
Perhaps, somehow or other, or maybe that there's particulates in the water that are climbing up the wood a little bit. That could happen, something. I mean, you're not sure.
I'll ask Eric.
Okay. So he points out to you this like crusty line on the boats that's just a little above the water line, 3-4 inches above, and asks you what you make of it.
Seems natural to you?
There's some sediment in the water. It's fresh water and drinkable stuff. I'm working to figure out how long the boats have been here.
The 2 of you are standing at the water as well, I assume?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, both roll a d20.
Also saw some small fish.
Really?
Just a little.
I mean, fresh fish sounds good.
They were a bit small.
Yeah, but there may be bigger versions somewhere in there.
Yeah, but there may be bigger birds.
Yeah. Okay.
There's always
What'd you roll?
7.
Okay. So Chiron and Clume standing at the edge of the water, and Clume has the lantern, and you kind of shine it out across the water. You can see it's probably about maybe 100 to 150 feet out across the water, so it's really outside your light. But again, the light is spreading well. The ambient light is spreading well out across the water, and you can see a larger boat that looks more like a sailboat. It's easily like close to 20 feet long, and there is a shaft sticking up out of the middle of it. That's probably a mast, and it's sitting there, sort of riding in one spot, probably at anchor.
It's out in the middle of the water?
It's about maybe 100, 150, 120 feet, something like that away. You just guesstimate. You don't have perfect distance guesstimation, do you, as a skill? I don't think so. Yeah. And again, you're seeing the silhouette of it because it is outside your light reach. Your technical light reach is 60 feet.
Gotcha.
But you're seeing double that because of the reflective nature of the water and your eyes adjusting.
It seems so impractical to me. I build a fortress and have another fortress built on the other side of a massive lake and not build a bridge.
Is it a lot harder to cross it without a bridge? You would have to use boats. And if the boats were on the other side, you wouldn't be able to get to it from this side.
A defensive installation?
Mustard says.
Mountain was for.
And
Mustard says. Could have been built by people that don't need boats.
possible.
Maybe the boats are for visitors.
But quite honestly, as if I were thinking things, this is a great place to have just because of the fresh water source.
Yeah, it's true. I got fresh water and fish. So, somebody puts you under siege, it means nothing. The only thing is you need fruits and vegetables. It might be kelp or something. Freshwater kelp, is that a thing? I think it is.
You know, the fish eat something.
Yeah, so whatever the fish eat. So you got, unless they're carnivorous, doubt that.
Something has to eat something. There's no light. It's not like.
That have to do with being carnivorous.
Yeah.
Well, there's no way to grow algae or plants to feed bottom feeders that would eventually feed the carnivorous fish. You need something to feed them.
I think,
Lichens and mosses that grow in darkness.
yeah, I think there are plants that grow in the dark, Mustard says. Just not the same kind of plants. Even the ones that are underwater, I mean, when they're 50 foot underwater and they grow out of the bottom, they're not getting much light.
Don't those use excrement from fish?
Well, if they do, we've got that.
Right, but I'm saying there has to be a bottom. Like, there has to be a...
Oh, yeah, yes, there's a bottom.
No, not of the lake, you don't...
Like a bottom of the food chain. There has to be a start of the food chain. Like, couldn't it be, don't whales eat diatoms?
Well, yeah.
Like tiny fish, tiny like single cell fish that float in the water. Whales eat lots and lots and lots of them, like millions or billions of them every day. That's what they eat, right? No, not
That's
krill.
more of shrimp, but yeah.
Like little floating things in the water.
Plankton.
No, not plankton.
I think those are krill.
Plankton are animals.
I mean, I think a whale could eat plankton, but I think that's not what they call them. Anyway, why are we talking about this?
I don't know. I'm investigating the boats.
Okay.
I'm also investigating.
All right.
More or less just to see how old they are, how long they've been here.
Sure. All right. So are we gravitating toward the boats then? Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you gather on the boats. And moving toward the boats, you can see that the beach does go on beyond that. And you can see that there is an opening in the wall that was about 50, 60 feet to the left of the one you came out of. It is at least an alcove, if not another tunnel. It does, generally speaking, go back the way that you came. Okay, and then the beach goes on beyond what your light goes, but so you're seeing maybe 100 feet, and it still goes on. Okay, these boats appear to be serviceable, but they do appear to be old. Old meaning probably at least decades. I assume you check and see if they're solid. They appear to be solid. They have a bit of moisture in the bottom, but most boats do. It's not like they're rotted out. They have oars, and then they're both launches, so each has a small mast that could be rigged if there was wind. But how there would be wind in here is debatable.
Well, that does seem a bit odd. My father having rigging percent.
Maybe there are people who can create wind.
I'm saying. It starts just
If they were winged people, they both would need boats and could create wind.
Is there something out there? Lacion says, looking toward the darkness. There's a shape. Like a sailboat, maybe.
Yeah, I do think there's another boat just outside the light of the lantern, it looks like.
How big?
20 feet? 20 feet?
Can I cast dancing lights and send them up?
You can, and they will float. You can make torch lights, so you can control where they go.
Says
Okay.
1 to 4 or something.
Okay.
Do the boats have oars, did you say?
The boats have oars, yes. They have 4 brackets, so spots for 4 people to row, or 1 person can sit and do 2 oars. Okay, so she goes, and 4 orbs of light spring into being, and you're sending them out across the water toward the boat.
I'll send them kind of fanned so the residual light is the next one's making.
Yep. Very cool. Okay, they fan out. As they get nearer to the sailboat, it is clear that it is indeed a sailboat. It appears as if it was white or off-white in color, like it was whitewashed. The top above the water, at least, was whitewashed. But it's flaking pretty bad. Like there's a lot of places where the white is pretty much gone. So it now gives you this kind of brown and white speckled look. It has a flat deck at about 3 to 4 feet above the water line, and then a rectangular house kind of in the center of it, and the main mast mounts atop that center housing. And it goes straight up in the air. And it does have a yard which comes out off the main mast, and so it looks like it would be a single triangle rigged sail. You can see with the light shining on it from here, you can see that it's steered by a whip staff, which is just a rod that comes up over the back. There's no wheel, which is newer technology, generally speaking. It looks serviceable. You can see what looks to be a heavy rope, probably 2 inches in diameter, coming from the right bow of the boat going straight down into the water. And it's pretty taut, the rope is pulled tight. The boat does not appear to be occupied. It does rock ever so slightly, as do the launches. There is movement to the water, but it's minimal.
Something like some kind of hidden place that people are coming to out here or something. I can't imagine why this boat is just abandoned.
Navigable water from here.
So there are a bunch of them. There's a major river that actually goes past the Gulls Crossing, and that's the only place that you can ford it for 20 miles in both directions. You can swim it, but to ford it is Gulls Crossing. Well, there's a pretty major river there, which is that's east of here about 10 miles. So, and then in the mountains there are several rivers. So it's not uncommon. But this is obviously underground, and it's not being poured into by a waterfall, because the water would be much more disturbed. And you're up high. Your elevation is where you're at right now. You're probably close to, now it's hard to say because you went down some. Nobody has that thing where they can tell the change in elevation, right? So, but anyway, that rectangular room was probably about 200 feet, 250 feet elevation above the village. Yeah. Mostly dwarves and gnomes, but some people take, a skill, like spelunking or something like that can do the same. Okay.
Well, I think two things immediately present themselves as options. First, I think it would be foolish to not check the rest of the beach, see if there isn't a land route, though perhaps more circuitous, around this, because going out on the water is an unknown.
Well, yeah, there's no way we can get on the Belgers across.
You hear the boat rock slightly as a stirred steps into the boat. He's standing in the boat and he holds either side. He's going like this in the boat.
It would certainly
Zah says, "What are you doing?"
be faster.
Checking it, see if it's sturdy. Seems sturdy.
Pretty sturdy.
Now the ripples spread slowly out until they eventually leave your
I've
lantern
been looking
light.
to see if there's anything coming back the other direction.
Not that you see.
Haven't attracted attention yet.
It's not real loud, but it definitely sent ripples all the way across this glassy pond for sure. Huge distance. They get smaller and smaller as they go, but
Checking more at the beach and at least checking the one exit to make sure it doesn't hold anything dangerous.
If we do end up having to cross, it seems prudent to retrieve the sailboat. At the very least, cut our trips from 100 to 10.
Well,
Stewart
yeah,
says it's probable the sailboat can't come too much closer to the shore. That would make sense. We have to use the launches to take people to the boat and then take the boat across, if all that's necessary.
That does make sense.
It's interesting too that I wouldn't expect a boat that size to have two launches.
Unless it's being used for water.
It's pretty big. It doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like they'd even pick them up.
It might not normally unless you knew you were going to need to use the launches for that.
Lysian says, on the Great Southern Sea, a lot of ships, sailboats like that, will tow launches behind and never pick them up because they can't go. The sailboat can't go to like the wharf or navigate in. So then they take the launch in. I've seen it in Southern Miss Cove where the sailboats will park out a mile or two outside that long, winding. I'm talking about like you guys have been there. Have you ever been to Southern Miss Cove? Any of you? No? But anyway, there's a long, winding course that you have to have a local pilot take you through. And so they don't take the sailboats in. They pull the launches.
One, I mean, having a launch, I would expect is just the fact that for a boat that size to have two.
Yeah. That's a lot.
It seems to have a designated purpose.
That's probably for bringing people to and from the shore.
Lysian says, if we want to use the sailboat, I could go check it out first. Right now, at least for a few more days, I can walk on water.
The way to run back if there's a problem.
Say it's more dangerous to approach via the launch because then, like, if there is something on board that attacks us, then people wind up swimming or in a tight group.
I don't think I'll be swimming.
Why don't we do that, and I'll stay here and wait for you, and the rest can explore the land route, as Lucas proposed.
Works for me.
Okay.
Well, you trust the guy.
If you don't want to miss any of the story, Low Moon Origins, Uprising, or Outsiders, like and follow our podcast. Please share it with friends.
A stirred climbs out of the boat. This little splash as his feet hit the water. It's only a couple inches deep there. Okay.
Seems reasonable.
You notice as he's moving toward the water, you see Zah softly saying something, and you read her lips, and she says, "On water?" And then Lysian goes, and so not only does he walk on water, you've already known that he's very fast. Like, you already know that his foot rate is exceptional. Like, he walks at about the speed that you jog or a little, like, run. And so he leaves the shore and arrives at the boat within, like, 7 seconds. It's like 120 to 150 feet. So he goes, and he goes right along the boat. He first goes around the outside of the boat. he goes around the outside of the boat, and then he stops at the rear of the boat. Mind you, you still have the lights out there so you can see plainly. And as he's right at the rear of the boat, there is a place, like a ladder to climb up, and he looks at you and shrugs.
That insane of a ring. He definitely was not going
I was thinking I could almost run that fast.
150 feet in 7 seconds?
You're thinking like
How long do you think
100 meter
How long do you
dash.
think the hallway is?
The world
The hallway
record
is 110 feet.
I just ran it in 6 seconds yesterday.
Oh, there you go. I'm pretty sure you ran it as fast as you could, or ran it, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So he was probably at like a brisk walk.
Yes.
To go that fast.
Yes, he was. So,
Going like a good 10 to 12 mile an hour.
yeah, if he sprinted it, he could go 4 or 5 times that fast. So it'd be like 2 seconds, 1 second. That'd be really fast. But anyway, okay, so he grabs onto the ladder, but he doesn't climb up the ladder. Instead, he grabs like higher than his head, and he pulls and he swings, and he just swings up onto the boat, and he's standing on the boat. All right, now you can only see him like shoulders and above. And are you going to navigate the light closer?
Yeah.
He is human. As far as you know, he doesn't see in the dark like an elf does.
Yeah, I'll keep
Even
at
though-
least 1 or 2.
Unless his monk
near
abilities
him
allow
and move him around, follow him.
it. Okay, and there's a limit of what you can do. They do have to stay in your sight.
Right.
So if they go out of your sight, they'll stop.
Yeah,
They
they'll
don't go
stay
out.
right on the top of the boat where as
Okay.
long as I can see his head. it'll
Yep, so
follow.
shining down on him. Okay. All right. So he moves forward and then kind of disappears into the little house on the boat. It's only maybe 2-3 minutes. All right, so during this time, the plan was for others to explore down the beach. Is that happening? Okay.
I'm going to stay with Quinn for a minute. I'll catch up.
All right. Zah
He won't be long.
is going to go with Asturd, Herrick, and Lucas. Okay. Walking down the beach. So first thing is the beach is stone. It's really a shelf. It's not a beach per se. I mean, it has it's the shore. Okay. As you're walking, you do occasionally step on something gritty, about the size of like coriander seed, and it does tend to crush under your feet. So you can feel something cracking. It's not pebbles, because if it was pebbles, they probably wouldn't crack. They would just grind against the rock. So they're made of something softer. Also, Clume had one of the lights. Asturd has one. Are you comfortable with just one lantern, or did? Okay. Yeah. You. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So it's really Asturd. So and he has the lantern, so he's comfortable with one lantern. What's that? Oh, and Zah, right? She needs to see too. Yep. Good point. Okay. Yeah. So as you're walking down there, actually, Asturd offers for Zah to carry the lantern if she wants, and she declines. I mean, I will if you need me to, but otherwise, it's fine. He said, "No, it's fine. I got it." All right. So you go down at the 50 or 60 feet or so. You see the tunnel on the left. It is smaller than the one you came through, so it's about a 12-foot ceiling. About 8 foot wide. It does not have a door, so it does appear to be a hallway. So you can leave the shore and go into that hallway. Basically, it does appear it's going, generally speaking, back the same way that you came from, but it is off a few degrees because the cavern wall is curving slightly around. Okay. Continuing down past that point, you get the point where the light is shining out on the water, and you can see like a sort of a constant ripple of movement. It almost looks like white water, but it's very thin, and it's just it's pretty far away, like 150 feet in a straight line, so you can't really make out what it is. But then as you continue down the shore and your light gets closer, you realize basically from at a certain point from the shore, somewhere ahead of you in the darkness, there is a line that extends out in the water, and there's an elevation change, and so the water is flowing down over the elevation change. But the thing is, it's not fast flowing, so it just like there's just enough of a texture almost that you can see that there's something under the water there. So it's not like it's white water rushing over, but there's just a kind of a faint white reflective line where the elevation changes underwater. Which means what do you call it? The bottom, what? Yeah, like the bottom is not far from the surface. So the sailboat could not sail that way. Probably the launches, if they had much of a clearance need, a draft, they wouldn't go that way either. So you've walked now a couple hundred feet down the beach. It is, the wall is narrowing to the water line, but you're still at the point where it's like 40 feet. So at the water line, you can clearly see the wall the whole time, and you can see out onto the water 100 feet or more. All right, continuing past that point, that's like 2 minutes. It's only like 2 minutes of walking. Okay, so you go a little further. All right, so now you get to the point where you can see that kind of faint line, the altitude change under water or whatever, comes basically up to the shore. And at that point, there's a structure built into the stone wall. And there's a column, and then there's like a peak, and it faces out onto the water. Okay, and there's steps on this side that lead up to it. So you'd be coming at it from the side, and you'd go between the column and the wall, and then you'd be like on the porch, if you will. And the center of that structure faces that line in the water, like it's coming straight out from there. So both of you, just roll a d20.
13. Failed my wisdom check.
How about intelligence?
Failed that.
What'd you roll?
6.
Okay. All right. So what you think what you're seeing is like intelligent design, could be man, dwarf, whatever, lock or dam or something like that. So there's a structure or a ridge line underwater that's coming out from here, and it's going out toward the middle of the lake, and there might be a mechanism to control it or to gain some benefit from the flow of the water or something.
It's something to control the flow of the water, either to like a lock to allow you to move from a lower level to a higher level, or reverse, or control the water like you would a mill pond or a water mill.
I didn't know those worked in water that wasn't actively flowing.
Oh, it is actively flowing, just not rapidly. I'd say there's a small spring somewhere.
Yeah, that's a pretty good indicator. Because you can see that line, you can now tell that it's probably flowing at like a half mile an hour rate or something, or way slower than a walking rate. So when you look at it, like it looks still across the surface, or tiny, maybe not wind. The most current on the surface is from the wind anyway, right? Undercurrents, actually. So there's an undercurrent, essentially, that is from your left now, or from really ahead of you. It was your left at first, now it's ahead of you, to back to your right. And it is an active current. And it's probably really strong in the sense that you're not going to stop it, but it wouldn't be strong in the sense it's not going to push you. Like if you put your hand in it and held your hand there, you would feel it pushing from the left to the right, you think.
Easy to move against.
Yeah. But always noticeable. Yeah.
Where's all this water coming from?
Mountains, snow melts.
Yes, but it seems like it's awful high up for that.
Check out Amaldan Inc. for incredible opportunities to support the ministry.
I feel like those usually start a little lower. In my experience.
I mean, it depends on what's that word? Topography? I mean, there are some high mountain lakes. It's just where the water collects until it reaches the next point where it can go downhill. I'm gonna move kind of into the little thing.
Up the stairs. Yeah, there's stairs that lead up onto the porch. Okay, so that puts you guys at like 4 or 5 minutes out. He entered the boat at like 2 minutes, and then roughly 2-3 minutes later, he comes back into sight, or at least someone does. Visibility isn't great, even though there's light there. You just see the person from the shoulders up, and then he comes over to the edge. You see it is him. He swings over the edge and drops down to the water. He lands on the water as if it's solid ground, but the water does splash up around him a little bit. Okay, and then he comes back to the shore. So at roughly 5 to 6 minutes, he's returning to the beach where you and Chiron are awaiting him. And he says, sailboat seems serviceable. It's not leaking any more than you would expect anyway. Everything seems solid. High quality ropes, brass fittings. I mean, if somebody wanted to strip it down, there's probably some valuable parts even. But it looks like it's been sitting for quite a while, and there's next to nothing in it. Like, no personal belongings. The bed, there's a captain's chambers, and then there's like in the hold, there's a place like probably hammocks or blankets hung by two ends for probably to make hammocks, I would assume. Anyway, and then in that room where the captain's chambers, the bed is neatly made with military corners. So somebody made it like perfectly and left it. And there's no, as I said, there's no personal. It's not somebody ransacked it and took anything of value. There is nothing. There's nothing in the cabinets. There's nothing on the tables. There was a paperweight. I saw a paperweight, like a little rock that was laying on the floor next to the table, but that was like the only thing that's in there that's not like tied down or it doesn't belong, except the blankets. There's not even a pillow. So it's deserted, basically. It's almost like it was